you were married to my sister. No, wait. I'm confused. I'm so confused right now.
I know. You know what I'm trying to say though, right? Like, why would you?
Just forget it. Just forget it.
I don't know what you're thinking. Should I stay or say goodbye?
Hello and welcome to Long Live Hooky Street, the podcast where we rewatch and discuss every episode of Britain's most beloved TV comedy, Only Fools and Horses. I'm Jenny and I'm joined from Hong Kong by my co-host and sister Heather. Say hello, dude.
Hello, everyone.
Today we are back discussing part 2 of the 1990 Christmas special, Rodney Come Home. So throw one of those ready-made meals in the microwave and let's get started.
So now we go to a nightclub, which reminded me a lot of the nightclub that Rodney and Cassandra actually meet in. And I'm wondering if it is the same one.
It was.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, that explains a lot. So it's the same nightclub, and Rodney's now going there with the broken marriage. So I'm not sure about the culture regarding nightclubs in the 1990s, but me personally, I always associate going clubbing with people who are like between 20 and 30, maybe 35 at a push. So I was quite surprised to see Del and Raquel in a nightclub.
Yeah, and this is the only time you ever see Raquel in a club. It's the only time we see Del going to casinos later.
Yeah.
I would have thought Del and Raquel, maybe not Raquel because she's supposed to be much younger than Del, but Del in this club seems too old to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one who feels that way. It's just like, because I'm 40 and I feel too old to go clubbing, so.
I think there was a decision maybe made to have this scene in the club over the Nag's Head.
Yes.
I think it could have been done. It could have been done in the Nag's Head, but I think it's kind of nice to take them back to where Cassandra and Rodney met.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it does show like the full circle of how great it was when they met to now. Yeah.
But yeah, it's strange to have like Rodney, Chris and Mickey Pearce in the same club as Del and Raquel having a date. I agree with you. So Del and Raquel are slow dancing to True by Spandau Ballet. Did I say that right? Spandau?
Spandau, yeah. I don't know.
True. Dun 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 dun. I've got it on my iPod.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I've got all the Only Fools and Horses music on my iPod.
I don't know why I didn't write that down. Yeah. Is that going to get... Does that ever get cut out?
No. So I'm not sure, though, if we will be able to use any clips from this whole scene because there's various background music, obviously, all the way through the scene. Now, this has never been copyright flagged for the DVDs, any of this stuff, but we'll see because YouTube has been a picky little bitch about this stuff of late.
Here's an interesting fact just on that subject is that they didn't, when they recorded Yuppie Love, they played the music in the club.
Yes.
But when they recorded this, they didn't. They recorded everything without the music and put it in later.
Oh.
So it would have been a lot easier for them to cut stuff. But then you're saying they didn't. I watched the DVD version, yeah, and it's still playing the original music, I think, as far as I know, yeah.
Exactly. So Del is watching Rodney on the other side of the club with Chris and Mickey doing shots. And we find out that...
Since he walked out on Cassandra, spent every night on the pit, the booze.
So Del says that he's worried about Rodney and he spent most of his life bringing him up. And I guess Del is genuinely quite sad that this is how things are going for Rodney, because I think he had very high hopes for him at the end of Little Problems when he walked out of the pub.
Yeah.
To go on his honeymoon. Yeah. So we go back to Rodney at the bar with Chris and Mickey, and they all seem to be on a mission to get as drunk as possible, which from Rodney's point of view, I can understand. But I'm not sure why Mickey and Chris are going as hardcore.
They're just having fun, yeah, I think.
Lads' night out.
Yeah,
I wrote that. Maybe just a lads' night out thing. And I guess maybe to support your mate, because if one of your mates wants to get blind drunk, I guess you do it with them, right?
Yeah.
So Mickey orders doubles and then tells Rodney that it's his round. Classic Mickey. And Mickey and Chris spot what they call lonely housewives out on the pull. So Rodney asks them to leave him out of it, which at least shows at this point he has no intention of cheating on Cassandra. And the ladies that Mike and Chris approach do not look like they belong in this club at all.
No, they don't.
They look like the sort of women that we would have found in Del's wine bar in Yuppie Love.
Yeah.
Like the way they speak, the way they're dressed, the way they act. Like they just don't seem like they belong in the scene at all. So this is quite a strange little exchange. So Mickey and Chris get turned down by the ladies when they go over to them, and then they turn it around to insult the ladies as they leave, saying they look old, basically. Some clubbing music comes on, and Del and Raquel simultaneously decide to leave the dance floor. So they only went to the club to slow dance. Interesting.
Yeah.
So Del still has a close eye on Rodney and comments that he's missed a couple of days of work due to hangovers this past week. So again, this is a trope that sort of goes over the next 2 episodes until he loses his job. Then we go back to Rodney at the bar, and he's telling Chris and Mickey that he's staying on the settee because Del and Raquel aren't sharing a room. So I've got to say, it's pretty bad of Rodney to share this personal stuff about Del with Mickey and Chris. But I guess he's had a drink.
Yeah, he's drunk.
So that could be the reason.
That's the reason, I think. I don't think he would have otherwise.
Yeah, because obviously you couldn't trust Mickey as far as you can throw him with anything.
No.
So Chris actually has some really good advice that Rodney should just go home because he has a nice flat and a good girl, and he's giving it up because of a stupid argument. That pretty much is summing up the entire episode. It is a stupid argument. So Rodney says that Cassandra needs to phone him and apologize for him to consider going back. So yeah, just rolling my eyes at this point. I know you can't see that, but then Mickey gives some terrible advice that Del overhears as he walks up to the bar.
What you gotta do, Rodney, is make Cassandra jealous.
Yeah. Why?
Make her think other women find you desirable.
Yeah.
Don't encourage Ronnie to tell her lies.
I actually love that line from Chris. I think the delivery is really good too.
Yeah, it is really funny.
So Mickey says that he makes a point of making women jealous, and Del laughs at him, which causes Mickey to ask him about he and Raquel.
Yeah.
And Del basically tells Mickey that it's none of his business. So you can actually see Rodney here looking really nervous that Mickey's going to say something to Del about what he knows regarding the sleeping arrangements. And I think Del probably would have thrown Mickey across the bar, so it's probably a good idea that he didn't say anything else.
Yes.
So Del asks to speak to Rodney, and they go back to the table where Raquel is sitting. Raquel, then, reading the room, being an understanding person, she dismisses herself, leaving Del alone to speak to Rodney. I've got to say, though, I do feel a bit sorry for Raquel, having to deal with all of this with Rodney, like, so early on in her relationship with Del. Like, I guess it just shows how strong their relationship already is, that she's willing to put up with all this, because, you know, moving into a flat with your significant other and the old uncle is already kind of, you know, quite a big ask. And then you've got Rodney moving back in, complaining all the time and being upset and drinking all the time. It's a lot for anyone to put up with. So Raquel is a good person.
I guess it's interesting, actually, if you think about this, and I just thought this, it's not in my notes, but the end of Little Problems, Del talks about how he put relationships off because he had to look after Rodney, basically, right? So then Rodney gets married, Del goes off, gets with Raquel, and then it's like raising a child again. He's got all these problems coming back on him with Rodney, and he has to deal with them while he's with Raquel. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good point, dude.
The strain on his and Raquel's relationship, and also Raquel is, like you see at the beginning of this episode and going on, does put up with a lot of shit from Rodney and all the trotters.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not surprising that she ends up kind of cranky in the long run. But yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I would. I'd be cranky by this point if I was her, so...
But also, think about the second time around. I know this was like way pre-Trotter character development, but Del gets engaged to Pauline and they immediately get their own place, which I think is probably more of a Pauline pushy thing. But...
Yeah.
Del and Raquel, like Raquel's moving into Del's life, warts and all. She's accepting the flat, the trading, Albert, the marriage problems, and they don't talk about getting their own place ever. So
no,
it's pretty different. Raquel is just becoming part of Del's life and not trying to change him at this point. I do understand why she maybe tries to change him later, but at this point, it doesn't seem like she's trying to change him at all.
No, Raquel's character here is, she seems like the nicest person in the world, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, even when she's arguing, you know, with Del later in this episode, she has very good reason to. And her points are, you know, very concise and articulate. So
yeah.
So Del tells Rodney that he can take the van for a service tomorrow because he knows he won't be going to work.
You've been out every night this week on the booze.
I'm just seeing me mates, that's all.
Yeah, but why are they always the same mates? Eh? Johnny Walker and Ron Bacardi.
We find out that Rodney walked out on Cassandra 8 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Del tells him to go home because he's made his point. And Rodney just walks away and Del goes after him. So this happens a lot in this exchange. Rodney just walks and Del has to follow him. Rodney continues to moan about Cassandra's attitude towards life and how it differs to his, saying that she wants to rule the world. And Rodney tells Del a story about how he bought her some earrings, which is what you mentioned earlier. And she said that they were little. So Del looks confused by the story, trying to figure out what the problem is. And I think I was too when I was listening to this. Again, this story, I just feel like, I know it's ambiguous sort of on purpose so we can see that Cassandra actually was fine with them later on. But I just feel like there could have been bigger things. I don't know. Again, I just feel like all this is so trivial. So Rodney says that he wishes he could meet another girl. And then Rodney continues to walk around the club with Del following him. But finally, we get a little bit of genuine emotion here from Rodney.
All in all, you know, this married life's been a bit of a letdown for young Cassandra. Yeah, I don't care. No skin off my nose, is it? Couldn't give a monkey's toss, me. I love her, Del.
Wait. Shut up, you talk.
So, Del's reaction to this is very in character, actually, because he absolutely would be embarrassed with Rodney crying in public like this. Yeah. So Del actually gets quite angry on Rodney's behalf here. Where he says that he's going to have a word with Cassandra. And this actually really reminded me of us when sort of something's happened to me and you've been with me and I'm upset and you get really angry, like on my behalf, and I do the same for you. I think it shows a strong relationship.
Yeah.
I love you, dude.
Shut up, you tart.
It's exactly what I was hoping you were going to say. I wrote it in my notes. So Del says he's going to tell Cassandra that size isn't important, as I mentioned, and Rodney realises that Del has completely missed the point.
God, he makes me so angry. I've got to find the little bloke. I'm going to have a fight.
I feel like a lot of people in the UK are feeling like this at the end of a night out drinking.
Yeah.
That's probably why there's so many fights at chucking out time.
Yeah.
So Del goes after Rodney and stops him one more time, and then Rodney continues to complain that Cassandra never cooks for him. And this surprised me. Del's attitude here is actually very enlightened when he tells Rodney that he knows how to cook and he should just cook for himself.
Yes.
I totally expected Del to agree with Rodney on this and be like, yeah, Cassandra's your wife. She should be doing all the cooking and the cleaning.
Yeah, I think obviously you do have to have the voice of reason in this argument, because if Del had agreed, it would make Rodney seem like he's right to have these opinions. But yeah, you're right. Given Del's character in the past, it would make more sense, I guess, for him to have been like, yeah, that's a shame. Because that's exactly what Raquel is doing, right? And it's shown over the next couple of episodes. She is cooking and cleaning.
Yeah.
I guess Del does kind of see that Cassandra has the career that Raquel doesn't have, but I don't know. Yeah, I think it's nice that you say that he says that. It has an enlightened attitude.
Yeah.
But it is perhaps, yes, out of character for Del.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think which episode it is where Del actually says something similar. He says, why have this and do all the hoovering yourself or something like that.
Right. There is something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. I feel like it's one of the earlier episodes, but I could be wrong. Maybe people in the comments can let us know.
Yeah, something like, what's the point of getting married and then doing all the cooking for yourself? Yeah, I can't remember where it's from, yeah.
Oh, that's going to bug me. So Del tries to get to the heart of the issue.
Oh, I see. What you wanted really was Cassandra to make a fuss of you.
Yes.
So Del tells Rodney that Cassandra is not his mom. And we get quite a poignant conversation about how Rodney never had a mother and he never knew what it was like to have that kind of joy in his life.
Yeah.
I like the way that that's put, actually. You never knew the joy of having a mother.
I do remember, sort of, but it's misty. You know, this blonde lady, and she was there, and then she wasn't. A bit like the SDP, really.
So I assume that Rodney is referring to the Social Democratic Party there, which existed in the UK between 1981 and 1988 until they merged with the Liberal Party to form the Liberal Democrats. Did I get that right, dude? That's my research for the year done.
Yeah, it definitely sounded like you read that from Wikipedia, but yes.
This is why I don't do the research, because I can't read it naturalistically. So this comment makes Del really mad. And you can see that Rodney knows he's overstepped the mark. And honestly, at this point, how has Rodney not learnt that he cannot make jokes, any jokes, when they're talking about their mom?
Yeah.
Seriously, Rodney, come on. So Rodney apologizes profusely, and then we get what I recall was the tagline for this episode on the VHS DVD box. I don't know if you remember this, dude.
Oh, what a life, eh? My wife don't love me. My mum's left me and some bastards nicked me bike.
Do you remember that was the tagline?
On the VHS, yes. I wonder if it's on my DVD. I should start writing it down, like from my DVD, each week, what it says as the tagline. But yeah, I think it does say it on my DVD. You're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I can't imagine it's changed much from the VHS.
I mean, it does sum it up pretty nicely.
It does. That's true. Yes, this episode summed up there. So Del tells Rodney to take a leaf out of his book and not let life get him down. And this sort of pertains to what you said earlier about Del being particularly upbeat after he gets into a relationship with Raquel. I'd agree with that. The thing that's a bit annoying about this exchange, apart from how I feel it's too long and a bit repetitive, is how Rodney comes in and out of too drunk to speak. He can't say role model in this bit here, it's played for laughs, but the last sentence he said was done with perfect articulation. So there's a couple of times in this whole exchange, this whole conversation with Del and Rodney, where he's like, I'm too drunk and I can't pronounce it. I think it's the name of the band that the LP he bought, Cassandra, is another example, right?
Yeah.
And then he's fine again, and he can talk normally. So I don't think it would be so strange if he was sort of more drunk all the way through the exchange, but he doesn't seem that drunk, and then he's suddenly so drunk that he can't pronounce any words. I don't know, that just feels a bit out of place to me.
I think they probably just added in those mispronunciations to add a bit of humour, because it is a serious subject matter. Yes, he can't say Fergal, Sharky, and he can't say role model, but the rest of the scene he's crying and stuff. So yeah, I think that was probably, I really love Nick Lyndhurst drunk acting overall, and I do think it's nice to have those little laughs. But yeah, I know what you mean, it's maybe not consistent.
Yeah, the inconsistency, that's the only issue I have with it. So Raquel comes back and Rodney dismisses himself, and Raquel gives some more support to Del and tells him that he's a very nice person, which is lovely actually.
Yeah, nice.
And Del and Raquel begin to kiss passionately until Raquel pulls away. Probably because they're in public and she feels a bit awkward, which is understandable. And I'm guessing Del, is a bit of a goer. So Raquel says that she thinks Rodney is confused and frightened. And Del says that blokes can't get frightened.
Yeah.
But of course, we know from Sickness and Wealth that Del knows that blokes can get frightened when he says, I'm scared, Rodney.
Yeah.
He literally says it. So Raquel tells Del that she is afraid of the dark, and this prompts Del to offer to hold her hand in the dark tonight, which she accepts. So Del ushers Raquel out of the club as quickly as possible. It reminds me a little bit of the part in Mother Nature's Son where they kiss and Del's like, right,
yeah,
and starts taking his clothes off.
That is very, I know that's in the future, but yeah.
So for some bizarre reason, and I've never understood this, Del decides, as he's leaving with Raquel, to shout across the club to Rodney that he can sleep in his own room tonight, prompting Rodney, Mickey and Chris to all cheer for the sex that Raquel and Del are about to have. A note on the sofa would have sufficed, surely. When Rodney got home, a note written there saying you can sleep in your own room. Done. It just seems so ridiculous that he shouts this across the club, especially after Raquel has just been like, oh, my reputation's not that good in this area. I don't want anyone to think anything bad. It's like, what?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the end of the scene. Quite a long one, dude. Any notes on that scene?
Yeah, I've got quite a few notes. I'll try to go through these as concisely as possible. I do think that the end part, it needed a big laugh at the end of the scene to finish it. So I do see why John Sullivan wrote it this way.
Right.
A note would have been better, you're right. But then also, or just let him sleep on the sofa for one more night, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe another way they could have done it is have Del whisper it to Rodney, and then Rodney still act exactly the same way. That might have been funnier, because it doesn't really make sense that Del would yell that across the club.
No.
If maybe he had just gone to Rodney and nudged him and be like, you can sleep in your own room, and then Rodney had been like, yes, Derek, and then they all cheer.
Yeah, then that's true. That would have been a much better way to do it. I agree with you.
Not that it matters. I don't mind. And then we're going to have to go back to the beginning now. I'll start my notes from the beginning.
Yeah.
So these scenes in the club, we've already mentioned it's the same location, the Parkside Hotel in Bristol. It was filmed across 2 days. They had 2 whole days to film this scene. That's why it's so long. Monday the 8th and Tuesday the 9th of October 1990. And it says in Mike Jones's production diary that the script did call for Jevon, and who was later replaced by Chris, played by Tony Marshall. And Chris is not in many episodes at all, but this would be his biggest part to play, because he actually has quite a lot of dialogue in the scene. He doesn't really have any dialogue in his other appearances. He comes into the pub and dates, and like you said, he doesn't even get given a name. No. I'm not even sure if he gets named in this scene either, to be honest.
No, he doesn't. That's why I only know he's called Chris, because you told me in dates that he was called Chris.
Yeah, it's so common to forget his character name because they do not really make a big deal. I mean, I hate to say that he's always just a replacement for Jevon. It seems like he's put in whenever Jevon wasn't around, although they do have him and Jevon together in dates. But yeah, he's good in this scene. Yeah, very funny, and like a little bit more about who he is. He's a hairdresser and all this, but it doesn't, again, it kind of is irrelevant because it doesn't continue. The only other scene that he's in is the party and the Mother Nature's son after this, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's a shame. I would have loved to have seen maybe more of Chris included, but perhaps there wasn't time. Yeah. And the fact that this episode has no side characters other than Mickey and Chris is strange. Yeah.
Yeah. And Alan.
And Alan for 1 second. And I'm assuming Alan was only put in because he was on scene that day anyway to film The Chance for Lunchtime.
Yes, probably.
They probably didn't really need him in that scene, to be honest. Okay, a few things about this scene from the lovely Jubbly book. It says loads of local extras were hired for this shoot. The scene was shot without audio, so they played a basic beat track between the shots to help the extras get their groove for the dancing. I suppose we can question here that they didn't do that with Yuppie Love, otherwise they would have been able to edit that track out and always keep all of that footage that they had to cut out. So it says in lovely Jubbly here, and I think that this is a quote from Adrian Pegg, when you are shooting with a single camera, it's the only way to do it because it's weird, but it is weird to watch people shuffling around in silence while the dialogue was being performed in the background. Yeah. Do you think that was really funny? And if anybody's ever been to a silent disco, you'll know what that's like. I've done a couple of those where you all wear headphones and you listen to the music. Yeah. You walk into the room and everyone's just dancing to nothing. It's really a very strange kind of way to see reality. Yeah. So Bubbles is mentioned. Bubbles was a pet chimpanzee owned by Michael Jackson. That's where I think Dal says Michael Jackson's got Bubbles.
I've got Rodney. Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah. This, I'm not super comfortable with saying this, but I'll say it anyway. The older women are described in the script to be in their early to mid-30s, but very pokeable.
Is that what it says?
Yes.
Pokeable.
Yeah, I won't linger on that for too long, but that's what it says in the script. I put here that Rodney crying over Cassandra and Raquel and Del's moment here are very sweet. I really like Raquel's vulnerability of admitting her fear of the dark here. Yeah. I was scared of the dark as a kid too, not as an adult, but it's kind of nice that she shows that vulnerability. Yeah. And her character development is good, like we've said before. We're actually seeing a lot of different sides of Raquel and getting nice moments of her development. Not Gwyneth Strong's fault, but she didn't get that with Cassandra. No. And then just on that same note, it says that Del's smile when Raquel kind of says, okay, you can hold my hand, is not licentious. It's more a mixture of relief and love, which I think is very sweet and played wonderfully by the both of them because they do actually both look nervous but happy that they're moving on this step in their relationship. Yeah. And that was all I had.
Yeah, I agree with you. The moment with Raquel and Del is really lovely. I agree. There's something, I don't know if it's the lighting in later series, but I feel like David Jason's eyes sparkle more in later series.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the way he plays it. It almost feels like he's always full of emotion when he's talking to Raquel, which is lovely. Yeah. I agree.
There's definitely something in these scenes, a lot of very intense close-ups on the actors' faces, which I think they did used to do in the older series, but maybe a little bit more lingering now or something. Could be the extra time.
Yeah. It could be the lighting. It could be the camera they're using as well that makes it look a little bit different. There's so many, even the makeup artistry, the fact that the characters are older. There's so many reasons, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we are back at Nelson Mandela and Albert is sleeping in his chair. Rodney comes in playing some loud music on the radio, which wakes Albert up. And I assume this is meant to be nighttime because it's dark outside. So Rodney and Albert have some banter about Albert's days in the war, and Albert asks Rodney if his hangover has cleared up because he didn't go to work again this morning. And Albert implies that Rodney was chucked out of his flat by Cassandra. And Rodney, of course, gets very defensive.
She is praying for me to go back.
Oh, spending a lot of time in church, is she? Maybe that's why she's never in when Raquel phones her.
You're just trying to wind me up, aren't you?
No, I'm not, son. Honest. They found your bike yet?
So we've got Rodney and Albert bickering as usual here. And actually, this exchange, I don't know why, reminded me of Grandad and Rodney. I think it's just because it was more like family members arguing. I don't know. It was unusual to see Albert kind of intentionally winding Rodney up.
I don't think it is unusual. I think it goes back to how they were in series 4 and 5. And I wrote that this scene reminds me of Miracle of Peckham because Rodney's in the robe. It reminds me of "Look at it, will ya?" with the trumpet.
Yeah, that's true, actually. But I feel like Albert wasn't intentionally doing it then. I don't know. Maybe he was.
I think he was.
But this is like very obviously intentional from Albert's side.
I think there's lots of occasions when Albert deliberately winds Rodney up. But, that's okay if you can't remember him.
Oh, that's right. Put me down as a fan.
Go on then, pass the back.
All I can say is thank goodness Albert was not eating a kipper. Rodney leaves the room again, turning his radio up as he goes out to antagonize Albert. And then Albert goes over to the bar to help himself to a drink. The wind is blowing, the snow is snowing. So instead of "get your thieving hands off," we have Raquel coming in. And Albert pretends that he's looking for his slippers, which Raquel points out he's already wearing. I actually would have thought at this point and how long Albert's been living there that him helping himself to drinks from the bar is kind of normal by now, but I guess it's funny that he still feels the need to cover it up. So Albert and Raquel sit down in the living room and Albert claims that he was trying to give Rodney some words of encouragement, but of course we all know that he was just winding him up. So Del comes home and asks where that idiot is, obviously referring to Rodney. And Raquel gets up to make a drink. And then we get what I think is the most hilarious part of this episode. So Del tells Albert that Rodney has asked a girl out on a date.
I've just had a word with a mechanic from the Peckham Exhaust Centre. Rodney took the van down there this morning. Now, apparently there's a new receptionist working there by the name of Tanya. And Rodney, the dipstick, has only asked it out on a date.
Albert seems shocked. And Del says that he's disgusted with Rodney. But Del seems genuinely worried about Cassandra's heart getting broken here if she sees Rodney with Tanya, right? Mm-hmm. He also seems to think Rodney will be sacked, which is quite sort of on point, I think, for Del here thinking like this. Because let's face it, it's quite unbelievable, really, later on that the first thing that Cassandra doesn't do is run to her dad and tell her dad that Rodney's a loser and he's cheated on her and he should sack him. Like, I actually made a note about that in the later scene, that if Cassandra really wanted to hurt Rodney, that's surely one of the first things that you do. I don't know.
Yeah, and in the chance of a lunchtime, she thinks he's like doing something with Trudy, and she also doesn't tell Pam and Alan about that. So yeah, I guess maybe there are some things she doesn't want to share with their parents.
I mean, in both occasions, it's her thinking that Rodney's cheating on her, right?
Yeah.
So, which she's wrong both times. But even so, yeah, it's just interesting that she doesn't do that, because I think that's what I do. But maybe I'm just, way more mean. Who knows? But this is why you should never work for your wife's dad. Then we get another bit of important information about Del's income.
And Alan won't do you any more of that cheap printing you flogged to all your mates.
No, that has got absolutely nothing to do with it.
So actually we find out here that the cheap printing is the only income that Del currently has, which puts them in a very vulnerable position should anything go wrong between Rodney and Alan. So I guess those dolls from the beginning of the episode aren't selling very well.
Really?
Yeah. And we haven't seen any, in this episode, I didn't really observe any sort of piles of stock in the flat that I can recall. So maybe that is the case, that this is really the only income that the Trotters have got coming in at the moment, which would mean that Del does have sort of a vested interest to make sure that that keeps going. Rodney does mention it later, but we'll talk about that as well at the time.
Yeah, I agree, but I do think that this, because I know I read a review once where it noted that somebody said that the cheap printing from Alan thing is almost like a weird continuing mention throughout the episode, almost as if that's the only reason Del is trying to salvage their marriage.
Yeah.
Which we know isn't true, because he cares about Rodney, and that would always overshadow the cheap printing. So they add that in, but it's kind of a weak storyline in a way, because it kind of shows that Del doesn't only care about Rodney, but there's no reason for us to think that, because he does obviously care about Rodney and would do all of this regardless of the free printing.
Yeah, it is. And actually, I remember in the last episode you mentioned about Alan's appearance being sort of very random and it wasn't needed. And I guess actually it was kind of needed to set up this cheap printing storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think the storyline was needed, I guess. I mean, not Alan.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Del has a bright idea. He needs to find a way to put Rodney off Tanya.
So what are you telling me for?
I don't know, was hoping you might come up with an idea. Then again, I was hoping that Millwall would win the UEFA Cup.
So another put down for Millwall there. Just continuing that. But Del finally has an idea.
When Rodney tells us about this date with this bird, right, you and me have got to look absolutely horrified. See, as though it goes against the whole of the Trotter family's moral code.
You never caught with that.
Yes, he will. You don't know him like I do.
So the plan is set and Rodney comes into the room dressed up to go on a date. As soon as Rodney enters the room, Albert looks at him and goes,
Not yet.
Honestly, this entire sequence is probably one of my favourite ones in all of Only Fools and Horses. It's like a shining light to me in this weaker episode, but obviously, unfortunately, it's not enough for me to bring it up to a higher ranking. But yeah, it's absolute comedy gold. So Rodney looks confused by Albert's reaction to him walking into the room. So honestly, I'll just play this because I don't think I can do it justice describing it.
Fancy a coffee, Rodney?
No, thanks, Raquel. I'm going out.
No. Oh, here we go, Rodney. Anywhere nice?
Going to pictures.
Oh, that's it, Rodney. That's it. Your marriage is going down to Swanee, and you bugger off to the flicks. Very good.
Why don't you just butt out, Del?
All right. Just as you like, bruv. Just as you like. Going on your own?
No. Going with someone.
So at this point, David Jason is holding it together, but he really looks like he's about to laugh his head off every time Albert makes that noise. And honestly, I don't blame him because it's hilarious. I also love how Buster Merrifield sits there looking worried that he's going to miss his cue.
Yeah.
All the way through that part. Like he's on the edge of his seat looking at Del, checking if it's the time to make the noise. It's hilarious. And then we get the final one.
Who are you taking? Cassandra?
No, not Cassandra. It's a girl.
A girl?
Girl?
Oh my God, this makes me laugh just thinking about it. I think you can actually see David Jason kind of laugh here. He's meant to look pissed off, but he really doesn't look annoyed at all because he's smirking.
Yeah.
It's just so funny.
But it's fine because it's realistic to how maybe Del would act in this situation, because it is funny the way that Buster Merrifield is doing the so yeah, I know loads of people have pointed that out as a moment where David Jason is kind of breaking, but I don't think he's really breaking character because I do think Del would laugh.
Yeah, I think it's because he's meant to be pissed off that Albert's getting it wrong. Like in the first or the second time he does it, he goes, no, but he looks like really serious when he says it. But for the last two, he really looks like he's laughing when he like hits him with the newspaper and when he sort of shakes his head. But yeah, that is a brilliant little moment there with all of Albert's noises. So Rodney tells them that he met a girl called Tanya and he's taking her to the pictures, and Del gets very upset with Rodney here. So he tries to convince Rodney to take Cassandra instead, and Rodney says that their taste in films differs. I feel like there's a mention in series 6 of Rodney and Cassandra going to see a foreign film together, but I could be wrong about that. Do you have any memory of that, dude?
I believe, is it Sickness and Wealth, or it's maybe Danger UXD? They talk about, they went to the Eric Clapton concert, but I think they talk about a film with subtitles at some point. Yeah. It's definitely indicated in the early days of their relationship that their tastes are similar. But again,
yes,
the series 6 Rodney and Cassandra is very different to any after that.
Yeah, because it seems Rodney is the one saying he doesn't like this stuff. Like, she seems to like all the stuff she liked in series 6 and now he doesn't like it. I mean, it is possible, I suppose, that Rodney was doing it just to impress her.
Yeah.
Because we did talk about how Rodney kind of changed in series 6 when he started dating Cassandra. But Rodney's always been sort of into this slightly more I don't want to say pretentious, but I'm probably going to end up saying it, so I might as well say it. Pretentious stuff that is more sort of considered, you have to be smart to understand it kind of medium. I don't know.
Well, it always did. Like we talked about, Rodney's book smart, Del is street smart. It always indicated that Rodney was interested in more serious stuff. Well written, maybe things with subtitles. And you can be interested in both. You can still want to see Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and also be a smart person.
Yes, true.
I think they're just kind of trying to hint here that Rodney wants to go and see something goofy and young with this other girl, and Cassandra wouldn't be interested, which, of course, we find out in the next scene she is. Yes, I think that Rodney saying that their taste in films differs is just, again, him being immature about it, because their taste doesn't differ.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't really know her because he doesn't talk to her, which is the whole point, right, of the episode, that they don't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now Del decides to try and put Rodney off Tanya by making out that she's really ugly. And Raquel objects.
I think what Rodney is trying to say, Derek, is that maybe, just maybe, this girl might have a nice personality. Has she?
No, not really.
That is a great answer to that.
Yeah, it is. And when that doesn't work for Del, he decides to make out that she has a reputation for being easy and hooking up with lots of guys. And of course, this enrages Raquel.
That is just the kind of old-fashioned, chauvinistic attitude that keeps women second-class citizens in this country.
Listen, Raquel, listen, I'm doing this on purpose.
Sometimes you can be such a sexist.
No.
You're not satisfied with tearing a poor girl to shreds because she doesn't look like Kim Basinger. Oh, no. You've got to do a character assassination because in the past, she's done exactly the same as you.
Dell's never lived with a darts team.
I think in this episode, especially, Albert has some of the best lines. He really does.
I agree.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this was quite a progressive attitude from Raquel for this time.
I don't necessarily think it's progressive attitude from Raquel, as in women would think like this. I agree with what you're going to say, probably what you're going to say about the slut shaming thing for women versus men. That I think is quite progressive. But I think she's here to represent the female point of view, which we've never had before, because we have a dog joke in this scene.
Yes, with multiple. I skipped over them a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, just to point out, because we have talked about dog jokes, especially in the first 3 series, there was a lot of dog jokes.
Yes.
And there haven't been any for a while. It's almost like we went full circle, but now we've got this female here to say, what the hell are you, you're talking like rubbish, basically, and pointing out the slut shaming thing is the progressive part of this little bit. Yeah,
because I'm not really sure sort of when it became more accepting for women to live with guys that like they're not married to or have like multiple sexual partners, but I feel like it was sometime in the 90s or towards the end of the 90s that maybe this attitude towards sex and the difference between men and women kind of started to change. It was quite mainstream by sort of, the early 2000s that women and men should be treated the same about this. So, yeah, I think, for 1990, I think this was progressive. And I mean, I guess you could still argue that this is still a taboo even now, depending on who you speak to.
Yes, it is.
Because I think some people still think it's not okay for women to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So even though Del is saying that he's pretending here to Raquel, I actually do think he just holds some of these beliefs genuinely.
I think so, yeah. But that's the interesting thing about this scene is that, yes, he's saying he's acting, but the whole bit where he does actually go, no, you're wrong, like I know you're going to get to, he does feel that way because we know that from previous episodes.
Yes, exactly.
He feels that way. So, yes, it's not full. It's like he slips out of the acting and has some of his own views come through, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Raquel continues.
It's all very well for young men to sow their wild oats. The more the merrier. Shows they're red-blooded. But if a girl does the same thing, she's a slut.
No, that is where you're wrong, Raquel, you see, because nowadays men can't sow their wild oats either. Because we've all seen the film for AIDS on the television, haven't we? Hey? And that's my point, Rodney, you see. That is my point. Today, you see, well, women are very dodgy. Now, you think about it. Take one wrong move and you could be shaking hands with Princess Di.
Women are dodgy.
No, not you, sweethearts, the others.
So Raquel and Del have a full-blown argument here about the origins of HIV, and there are a couple of funny lines in the middle of the argument I just want to highlight.
I've never heard such stupid, pig-ignorant views as yours.
Oh, you get him on politics, Raquel. That'll blow your mind.
And also...
For your information, there is rather an ugly rumour going around.
Oh, is there? Well, introduce it to Rodney. He'll take it to the pictures.
I like
that's
that line.
That's a really clever play on words. Yeah. So, in the end, Raquel blames man for the AIDS epidemic and Del blames women. But actually, Raquel ends the argument with a bit of a mic drop here.
AIDS is like nylon, man-made.
You've upset her now.
So Del has one last attempt at stopping Rodney from going to pick up Tanya. Del tells Rodney to get some flowers and a nice bottle of wine and go back to the flat and wait for Cassandra instead of taking Tanya out. But Rodney seems to dismiss the idea, and he and Del argue some more. And there's quite a funny line during this exchange as well.
You just say you're sorry. And then she will say she's sorry to you. Before you know where you are, you made it up. You're more in love than you ever were before. And you might get a little bit. Everyone's a winner, tete de ver, right?
You might get a little bit. Good God, it's like living with a Big Mac.
So Del tells Rodney that he cannot use the van for his date. So Rodney says he'll bass it, storming out of the flat. Del talks to Raquel through the door and invites her to the Nag's Head for a few drinks, but she's still really angry, so she declines. And then Del realises why Rodney is taking Tanya to the pictures.
What cinema is that on at?
It's the ABC in the High Street.
Exactly. And what's next door to that cinema? Cassandra's evening school. And tonight is the night that she goes.
But she might see Rodney and this Tanya girl queuing outside.
Exactly.
So Del realises that Rodney has taken Mickey Pierce's terrible advice and is trying to make Cassandra jealous. So Del decides that he is going to stop Cassandra from going to the evening class, and he goes to leave the flat. But this is when Raquel chooses to forgive Del, suddenly, very out of the blue, and she decides to seduce him and tries to usher him into the bedroom.
Can we, talk?
Yeah, I will. I'll be as quick as I can.
Well, you don't have to be.
No. What I mean is, I just got to pop out for a minute.
I know, but I wanted to, talk.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, I know, but see, the thing is that this is very, very important, you see.
Oh, well, please yourself.
Eh? No, look, careful. Look, all I was going...
Rodney's really upset her, isn't he?
And Del switches off the light on Albert and he leaves the flat. Actually, that joke that Cassandra makes there when Del says he'll be as quick as he can be, and she says you don't have to be, really sounds like a carry-on joke.
You said Cassandra, you meant Raquel.
Oh, fuck. Yes, I did.
It does sound like a carry-on joke.
That's all I had to say for that scene. So any notes, dude?
Rodney says after they all go, "Oh, a girl, a girl," he says you sound like Jive Bunny. And I looked that up, and I guess Jive Bunny and the Master Mixers was a British novelty pop act from 1989. I didn't really get that reference. Maybe I'm too young.
Oh, no, I didn't either.
But I wrote, interestingly, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids actually came out in 1989. So we are actually referring to a relevant movie.
Yes.
Yeah, one other note about the AIDS thing is that the Del goes to argue, and his beginning of his argument, which kind of gets cut off by Raquel, is, "Oh, we've all seen what's on the telly," and then he goes, "This bloke walks into the club," or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, he's the exact representation of what the people who make these TV adverts want you to do, and that is take exactly what they've put on the TV and accept it as fact. And he's going to argue that the TV showed him this thing, and it's true. This is obviously a big issue.
Yeah.
I also don't know if you're going to put it in, but I like the line,
Raquel, if feet were the problem, Dr. Scholl could find the cure.
do you know, because I'm not sure about this, is the line "one wrong move and you could be shaking hands with Princess Di"?
Yes.
Is that in both versions, the DVD and the
Yes.
uncut? Okay, it is. All right. Oh yeah, and then final note, Raquel is making it very obvious in front of Albert that she and Del are sleeping together in this scene, but come the next episode,
Yes.
she's embarrassed by it, so I thought that was funny, just interesting.
Yeah, that's very true.
Raquel, being like, "Oh, fine, please yourself," and storming out, that goes against everything we've said about Raquel being mature in this episode.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It's for comedy reasons. And that's it.
Now we go to What I would guess is one of the scenes that gets the most criticism in this whole episode, right, dude?
From you? No, yeah, from everybody, yeah.
No, they all get equal criticism for me. But I am going to criticize the scene, yes, probably quite a bit. Because it's the way that Cassandra acts in the scene, right, that gets a lot of criticism, I'd imagine.
But are you talking about the writing of the character of Cassandra or the way that Gwyneth Strong plays it?
I'm talking about both, actually, but I'll sort of come to that later in the scene. I just wanted to ask you, because I know you've done a bit more research on this, sort of if this scene in particular is quite criticised.
I definitely have seen multiple accounts of this being referred to as the reason people think maybe that Gwyneth Strong's not a very strong actress. Or they say this is just over the top and silly, the stamping the feet thing.
Right.
Which again, I don't think is very fair to Gwyneth Strong, because again, I don't think that her character was written that well. It's not an insult to John Sullivan. I don't think it was developed that well. I think Cassandra is fairly one-dimensional.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this when we get to that point in the scene, because I have quite a few things to say about that from sort of an acting perspective. Let's start with this scene. So we now go to Rodney and Cassandra's flat. We see that Del has arrived, and he's practicing what he might say to Cassandra as he's walking towards the flat. So actually we start outside the block of flats. Mm-hmm. And then Cassandra lets Del in, which I'm actually a bit surprised about, because I would have thought that maybe she would know that Del was there to try and sort of talk around, fix things, you know, with her and Rodney, or even maybe stand up for Rodney. So I guess maybe she does want that.
She's not mad at Del, though.
It'd be like me going around to see your husband after you guys had a row, and you'd moved in with me after the row for like 8 days.
Yeah.
So I can't understand why he'd want to speak to me.
It's kind of like a friend, but sibling, somebody that knows you very well is going to try to talk on your behalf. It isn't really appropriate, and as you can see, Del does go ahead and make it hell of a lot worse. He ruins it, basically.
Yes.
But again, like Raquel says, his heart's in the right place. He does want to see them reconcile, and he genuinely doesn't want Cassandra to be hurt. He could have just let all this play out and let Cassandra get really hurt and let Rodney face the consequences.
Yeah.
So it's actually sweet, and I don't think there's any reason why Cassandra wouldn't let him in, because it's not like she's really fallen out with Del.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like you'd be more suspicious about the motives for coming round, but maybe that's just me, because I'm a suspicious person. So there's some very Cassandra music playing in the flat when Del enters. Now, I don't know exactly what kind of music this is, but it's a very particular style that they often have playing in Cassandra and Rodney's flat. Do you know what you'd call this style of music, dude?
I can't even remember what it's like. I didn't write any notes on it.
It's a particular style. It's always like sort of very, like kind of music. It's very, I guess, sappy music is what I would say. Like love song kind of jazz sounding music.
I don't know. I can't remember what the song is that's playing in this scene.
It's not about the song, it's about the style of the music. I don't know what the song is either, but it's always a similar style of music playing in Rodney and Cassandra's flat when they have these meaningful scenes.
In the first scene, she's listening to the Fergal Sharkey LP. The only other time I can think is in 3 Men, a Woman and a Baby, when she's listening to Sinead O'Connor. Nothing compares. So that's not really... Those two aren't comparable, but
yeah. So the first music, I didn't even count that because that was switched off immediately at the beginning of the scene. I'm talking about the music that tends to run underneath Rodney and Cassandra scenes, but it's fine if you don't understand what I'm talking about. Maybe someone in the comments does. So Cassandra is packing to go to her evening class, and Del says that he's just popped in to see how she is, but he says that he's a bit choked to hear about her and Rodney. And Cassandra says that she's off to her evening class as it's her final exams in 3 weeks. She does ask how Rodney is, and Del says that he is bearing up.
Where is he tonight?
He just popped out earlier.
Oh, well, I hope he has a good time. I mean, that's what he wants from life, isn't it?
So Cassandra reiterates a similar sentiment to what Rodney said earlier, saying that he's got to make the first move and be the first to apologise. So honestly, by this point in the episode, this all feels very tedious and a bit stupid for both of the characters to still be behaving this way. So Del gives some advice to Cassandra from his mom.
There's none so blind as them as what won't listen.
I wonder if his mom actually said it like that or Del just got it wrong. I don't know.
Seems like a Joan thing to say.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So Cassandra starts explaining all of the things that Rodney has done wrong. So basically we're hearing Cassandra's side of the story now.
The other week I invited some colleagues round. I cooked a lovely meal. I really tried hard, Del.
No, well, you're a smashing cook, Cassandra. I remember that mousse marinara that you made for us last year. I can still taste it now.
Anyway, 1 hour after we'd finished eating, Rodney decided it was time they all went home. So he started giving them subtle little hints, like yawning and checking his watch every 3 minutes. Finally, he started whistling the national anthem.
Well, Rodney never was one for staying up late.
This was Sunday lunch.
So it's quite an elaborate story there, but I could totally see Rodney doing this.
Yeah, definitely.
The way it's described sounds like something Rodney absolutely would do. It's that, again, passive-aggressive kind of version of Rodney that we often see. So we get confirmation that Rodney and Cassandra are both acting as immature as each other, as if we needed confirmation at this point. So Cassandra inadvertently insults Dell when she is slagging off Rodney.
What idiot wants to spend their evenings down the nag's head?
Yeah, that's kind of an obvious insult to Dell, and it's mean, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So Dell astutely observes that Cassandra is also acting immaturely, which she denies, and then confirms by saying,
I'm not phoning him first, he started it.
Then we see that Rodney has misunderstood Cassandra's comment about the earrings being little when Cassandra tells Dell that that was what she liked about them.
I don't want a pair of chandeliers hanging from my ears. These are perfect.
Perfect? Rodney
said what?
No, nothing at all. Just forget it.
So yeah, this is... do you want to talk about the earrings? Because I think you had something you wanted to say in this moment.
Yeah, I had another note about that because I kind of forgot to mention it in the club, because in the club there's like a running thread of misunderstanding that Dell thinks that like the whole size matters thing, and Rodney's like, oh, sod the earrings. It's almost as if it's not about the earrings, but the earrings represent something else in the relationship, and that Rodney's like saying, aren't they little? That insult when he's drunk, he feels that Cassandra is saying he is little, even though he's like, oh, mommy and daddy buy her all the big gifts. It's like he feels that she thinks he's not enough. And that goes back to the Jolly Boys Out in marrying beneath yourself argument. So to me, like, obviously, yeah, the earrings themselves are not what matters. It's kind of what the idea of her thinking they're too small, but actually she thinks they're perfect. I find that quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then to loop in the LP again, she actually likes the LP and he thinks that she doesn't.
Yeah.
And then she likes the movie, or she wants to see the movie and he thinks she doesn't. So all these things could have been resolved by just talking. So I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I definitely take your point that there's a lot of misunderstandings, but I also do think that Rodney and Cassandra tend to completely switch their views depending on the situation, which is illustrated in this scene. I'll mention it again when I get to that part.
Yeah.
So Dell goes back to his original plan where he tries to talk Cassandra out of going to the evening class, and he begins by inviting her out for dinner instead to the Chinese restaurant that Alan mentioned in the first scene. There's a nice little bit of continuity there. Then he offers to drive her right to the door of her evening class, and he says that she wouldn't want to walk past that cinema queue. And that kind of backs Dell into a bit of a corner here. So the thing that annoys me a little bit about this is I'm sure that Dell is smart enough to think of more reasons why Cassandra shouldn't go to the evening school. He could have made anything up and she wouldn't have known. Like, there's been a bomb scare downtown and it's not safe, or there's been, it could have been anything. But he decides to tell her the truth instead, which I've got to say is a little bit out of character for Dell to do this, which Rodney does mention in the final scene about Dell being a grass. But anyway, I suppose we've got to have it for the scene to work.
Listen, have you ever had, like, a nightmare that Rodney'd been out with another girl?
No.
Well, I have. Now, just for argument's sake, tell me, what would your reaction be if, like, you did?
What, Rodney with another girl? That wouldn't bother me.
Oh, good, because Rodney's taking another bird to the pictures tonight.
Done what?
So I can't believe that Dell thought she actually meant that she wouldn't care. Like, this is what I'm saying about the misunderstandings being just blatant lies sometimes. Like, it's not surprising that Rodney and Cassandra don't understand each other, because they probably just lie to each other all the time about how they really feel about things. And then, of course, when, a certain situation occurs, they change their mind. So yeah, she says, of course she says, I don't care, because she's trying to look cool and like she doesn't care about what's happening with Rodney, but of course she does.
Yeah.
So I actually love, though, how upbeat Del suddenly goes when he's telling her about it. He's like, no, he would. It's like,
yeah,
like
I know.
really harsh.
It's very silly of
because
Del.
he thinks she doesn't care.
He's not great at communicating with women either. And yes, he took what she said at face value, which, you know, a lot of guys argue that that's just what they're doing with women. And that's why they can never get it right, because women often don't mean things at face value. I think Rodney would have said exactly the same thing if the situation were reversed. He would have been like, I don't care if she goes out with another man. Like, just because, but he does care.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. I think most people, when they say, if they've had an argument like with their lover and then someone's like, oh, would you care? If they're like, no, I don't care. Like, I think most people would do this to put a brave face on it, because it's a sign of weakness, right? If you're like, no, I really do care, it makes you look vulnerable. So most people are going to say they don't give a fuck in the situation. So yes, that was a bit silly of Del. So Del does try to explain that he's only done it to make her jealous, thinking that it will make it better.
He was hoping that you would see him and this Tanya bird standing in the cinema queue. And I said, Cassandra's far too intelligent for all that. Who the hell is Tanya?
Now, this is where Cassandra completely changes her tune. And she even talks about the argument that they had 8 days ago at the beginning of the episode as being a silly disagreement rather than a marriage-breaking one.
Yeah.
And this honestly, it pisses me off, because it's like, even in the writing, we are now saying that everything that's happened to this point is as silly as we all think it is.
Yeah.
It takes away from any gravity we might have felt by sort of confirming this at this point, which is why I think I really don't like this scene. As I mentioned earlier, this is a bit difficult to talk about in a nice way, so I'm going to try and word this as nicely as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I completely understand why people think that Gwyneth Strong is a terrible actress after watching this scene, okay? But I would argue that it's probably an issue with the directing more than anything else, because a lot of the time as an actor, you are given the freedom to sort of perform it how you want, but if something has to come across in a very particular way, a lot of the time the director will be the one who asks you to perform it in a different way. So if she was told to be sincere here, to really put her heart into it and really show true emotion, then she's a terrible actress. But I doubt that was the case, because we've seen in Modern Men that Gwyneth Strong is a very good actress when it comes to emotional stuff. So I believe that she was directed to make this comedic. And of course, that was probably a bit confusing for her as an actress as well, because on the one hand, she's supposed to take this seriously and be upset, but on the other hand, she's got to do it in a comedic way. And if that was her direction, which I believe it was, then actually she nailed it. Except that she's not very sympathetic, because it just comes across as being comedic and nothing else. But that is so hard to do as an actress, to actually sort of have real emotion and then also make it funny. Like that's really hard. Honestly, I can't think of many actors that could do that. I think that this is why this episode, as I said before, it just doesn't work for me, because we can't take this seriously. Like, I feel like we're meant to, and then there's this weird mixture of genuine emotion and lighthearted childishness, and it's like, it's too confusing. Like, what are we meant to care about and feel for Cassandra and Rodney and their problems? Are we meant to laugh at them? Are we meant to empathize with them? Like, what are we meant to do with this?
All I can say about what you've just said specifically, that's fact, because we don't know what the direction was, because we don't have any evidence of that, but we can read the script, and the script says Cassandra should tip out the bag of books and jump up and down on them. In other words, be very silly. And that's John Sullivan's script. Now, we don't know how Tony Dow directed her. So we don't know that. In the rehearsals and stuff, they obviously changed their mind about this jumping up and down and decided to do stamping the feet instead.
Oh yeah, honestly, dude, I'm not even talking about that bit. I think that bit we can all agree is really over the top. I'm talking about like these parts here where she's like crying.
Well,
about the revelation.
I don't necessarily think that the crying part is as bad. I think when I mentioned earlier that a lot of people said that she's a bad actress, I think they're mostly talking about the last little bit. I don't think the crying is that bad, because I do think that you cry loud and silly sometimes when you're really upset. And also her flip of personality to me is like strong defense, I don't care about anything. And then she finds out reality actually is he is going out with another girl. and she becomes just like this vulnerable child. I mean, she's only supposed to be 23 at this point.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy.
If we go on the fact that she was supposed to be 21 when they got married, she's only supposed to be 23 here, and I could see myself doing that at 23, breaking down and crying all loud and like that was a Sybil Fawlty.
Yes, I know. That did sound like Sybil Fawlty laughing. Yeah, I totally get your point, dude. It's just that, again, it's the overall episode that I'm picking fault with here when I talk about this bit, because again, if the whole episode was like, oh, you should definitely be laughing at Cassandra and Rodney and how silly they are, okay, this works for me, this scene, I get it. But the fact that we have Rodney in tears about the relationship and having these serious conversations with Del about it, the end of this episode, it's not funny. This is not funny.
Stop saying
for
that.
those particular parts. I know. So I just think that the direction needed to make a decision about where it was going. Was it going down the we should be taking this seriously? When we have these moments where they're showing emotion, we should be taking this seriously. And then the other parts, the jokes in the middle, like anger is a different emotion. It can be very funny, and it can work both ways. But I think with the crying, because we have got some really heartfelt moments of crying and sadness, it's just strange that they decided to have Cassandra's scene more comedic, whereas Rodney's crying scene very genuine and heartfelt.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's also actually, off the top of my head, that could be a decision because of the fact that men, when they cry, it's considered probably a bigger deal to see a man cry than it is to see a woman cry. I don't know.
It's true. If you think about all the times that throughout Only Fools and Horses that you see Rodney and or Del cry, they tend to be serious, and I'm definitely excluding Modern Men here.
Yeah.
Because that scene is serious, but David Jason's crying is the comedic relief.
David Jason's actually crying, yes. Real tears, yeah, that's true.
But apart from that, yes, there's lots of times where Rodney has been very upset. And yeah, there's the odd funny line thrown in, but in general, it tends to be very serious. So
yeah.
Going back to the early series, whenever we went to a serious moment versus a comedic one, we were always like, wow, like we love the serious Trotter family development stuff. It's hard to say the same about these episodes for some reason. And yeah, I can't put my finger on it really either. There's something slightly off about the balance of comedy and drama in this episode. And again, it could probably be because it's been stretched and too much has been put in. Because you are going from one of, the funniest scenes ever with Albert to scenes where, again, they are repeating a lot of the same stuff. And yeah, you've got Del, so you've got the comedic relief. But yeah, the character of Cassandra in this whole series is not really funny. And maybe it was just a miss because they thought that her having a tantrum like this would be really funny and would end up being one of the best memories and stuff. And it didn't really work because it's hard to take it seriously, but then it's also a little bit, the end bit is a little bit cringy. So yeah. Again, I don't really think it's Gwyneth Strong's fault because I don't think her character, she's got a lot to work with.
Yeah.
And it's probably just a mistake to make her try to be comedic relief in the scene because it didn't work.
Yeah, I have some more sort of notes on Gwyneth Strong later on in the scene, but also in her defense as well. So Cassandra starts getting upset, we've spoken about, and she's wailing, which is pretty over the top.
We only had a row about badminton and he started an affair with another woman.
No, he hasn't. He's only taken some tart out to see Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I wanted to see that.
Oh, God.
So Del actually looks very uncomfortable with Cassandra crying, which again is very in keeping with his character.
Well, you're taking this very well, Cassandra.
So for lines like that to work, obviously she had to be crying over the top, otherwise that sort of line wouldn't land. So yeah, very difficult. So Del goes over and puts his arm around Cassandra and she thanks him for telling her the truth. And Del says that Rodney's only doing it to get her back with him, so to make her go back to him, which I don't understand why that would work. Cheat on me and then you'll want to come back. So Del then asks her not to go to the evening class one more time, and this time she agrees, saying that she will go to her friend Emma's house. Emma's back.
Emma, yeah.
She wasn't at the wedding, but she's still a friend of Cassandra's, evidently.
She wasn't featured at the wedding. We don't know she wasn't there.
I don't know. I feel like she wasn't there. Maybe something happened. Maybe she worried that Mickey Pierce was going and she didn't want to see him again.
Wasn't she at the wedding? I feel like she was there. I have this image of her wearing like a flower crown. I think she was there at the wedding.
Okay, we need our comments to tell us about this one. So Del tries to do some damage control.
So we keep this just between ourselves, eh? We won't tell the neighbours or your dad about it, will we?
No.
Good girl, you know it makes sense.
Again, I said that I'm surprised that she didn't want to tell her dad about it. Especially after Del just put the idea in her head that she could tell her dad about it. So Del says that he will get Raquel to give her a ring.
Because her marriage broke up and all.
So here is a personal pet peeve of mine from an acting point of view. This may not bother anybody else, so this is just my personal opinion. But I really hate it when actors pretend to cry, because it's so clear that there are no tears, particularly in film and TV, because, you know, you can really see it. On stage, you might be able to get away with it because of the distance between you and the audience, but even so, I really don't like it, because I think that when you cry, you should cry as an actor, right? But again, I said with Grown and Strong, we know that she can portray genuine tears because she does it with the miscarriage scene in Modern Men. So I'm going to assume that it's because in this scene, she is probably struggling to find any genuine emotion because the subject matter is so shallow and frankly quite ridiculous. I think that's probably why she's not able to produce real tears. But yeah, I just really hate it when that happens.
There's a live studio audience aspect of it. This was a studio shoot versus the hospital shoot in Modern Men not being. So she would have had longer to form the sadness and stuff. Whereas this, she's got to put it on for the audience. So maybe she couldn't find it that day and they were happy with the scene the way it was and they didn't ask to reshoot. I agree, she's not crying. She's doing fake crying. It could all boil down to direction. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, I totally understand this because I've had to cry on stage multiple times, you know, when I was sort of training to be an actor. And sometimes you really do struggle to cry on cue. I totally get that. And there's, you know, various techniques you can use to get to it. But if I had to do a scene like this where I was like crying really over the top and, you know, it all was kind of silly and there was no real genuine emotion there, I think I'd struggle to cry real tears too. So again, I'm not criticizing Gwyneth Strong. It must have been very difficult to do this scene, to be honest.
Yeah.
So Del leaves Cassandra alone, and this is where she has the infamous huge tantrum where she throws the books out of her bag onto the floor and stamps her feet like a 3-year-old. And yes, this, as you mentioned, is different to what's written in the script. So I have to assume this was a directorial decision to do it like this. Yeah, it was a risk. Let's say that.
Yeah, maybe it's worth thinking about, again, what we've been told hundreds of times, that this is a show for men, made by men for men. Maybe it's funny to men. Let us know. I've read things that they think it's not. They find it annoying and it's immature and silly.
Yeah.
Maybe because it was supposed to be written as like, you know, you've got 2 occasions in this episode where a woman flies off the handle over something silly. So maybe that's funny to men. I mean, it might be realistic again. Like maybe that happens a lot, and women are emotional. You know, so like, right, in this case, she's upset, and it's fine, and it's funny. But I don't think there are many people that love this scene or this moment. But I think what they were going for is the relatable woman having a meltdown over something silly. Yeah.
Yes, I'd agree with that. But it definitely doesn't land. Also, she does this while Del is clearly still in the flat. She hasn't had him leave. So she knows Del would have heard this or seen this. And I don't think any woman would do this in front of their brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So Del pops his head back in after the tantrum to say the final line of the scene.
You won't do anything silly, will you?
No, I'm fine.
Lovely, Jubbly.
And that is the end of the scene. So what are your notes, dude?
Seems silly to say this after this discussion, but the meal that Del mentions at the beginning is the same one that he talks about in the Mardi Gras, where he says the meal was good.
Oh,
right. Yeah, he's like, that moles Monier. Those were lovely moles, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the same meal. But Del actually makes it sound like he did enjoy it there, whereas here he's like, I can still taste it now, as if it wasn't good.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Cassandra, I wrote here, is showing the same stubborn behavior as Rodney, and this scene shows her perspective.
Yes.
Which is nice, but it's the same because they both are just being stubborn and not talking about their feelings, so really it's the same. But she does say that she loves him. Rodney said that he loved her in the club.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, at the audience point of view, we're just both like, you love each other, so Shut up.
Yeah, agreed. I think even from Dell's point of view, that's what he's thinking too.
The only other note that I have really for this scene is, do we think Dell is in the wrong? I mean, I do think he was in the wrong to tell her like this.
Yes.
I think what would I have done in this situation? I couldn't get through to Rodney. I wouldn't have told her. I would have, again, done something a little bit more. Maybe I would have grabbed Raquel, because like he could easily have grabbed Raquel here and said, why don't we go round to Cassandra's and say, let's open a bottle of wine and we'll all talk. Like that probably would have been a better way to stop her going to evening class.
Yeah, I mean, she was pretty determined to go because she said she's got her exam.
He even says late that he's going to get Raquel to call as well because her marriage broke up and all. So
yeah,
Raquel probably would have been the best method here. I think he was in the wrong to tell her the truth. What do you think?
Yeah, I said earlier, yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's not really in character for Dell to do this because he would know what the consequences would be. Like he would know that however this panned out, obviously he didn't foresee that Rodney wasn't going to take Tanya, but he would have known that Cassandra would have confronted Rodney and said, I know about Tanya because Dell told me, which is exactly what she does say later on. So it seems like Dell's putting his own neck in a noose.
Yeah. And also, if you were going to tell her, why not just let her go to evening class? I mean, she's going to get hurt either way.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I know he doesn't
so
want to humiliate her, which is very noble.
But sometimes, actually, yeah, what you imagine in your head is much worse than what you can see with your own eyes. I agree with that.
Anyway, that's that scene.
So now we go back to Nelson Mandela. And Raquel is sitting on the sofa reading a book, and Albert is in his chair reading a book. So Dell is at the dining table trying to fix the voice box of one of the dolls that we saw at the beginning.
I didn't know what you were doing.
So Raquel continues to apologise to Dell for not realising that he was saying all of those awful things about women because he was trying to stop Rodney going on the date with Tanya. Although, as I said earlier, I do believe Dell does genuinely hold some of the beliefs that he espoused. So now we get a joke that you actually mentioned was written for an earlier episode, right, dude?
I couldn't see Rodney being unfaithful, could you?
No.
He's not that stupid, is he?
Oh, yeah, he's stupid enough. It's just that he never has any success with birds. I mean, that bloke has been blown out more times than a windsock.
Oh, that's right. It's in Chain Gang. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. So it's actually a repeated joke.
Yeah.
So Albert begins to tell a during the war joke. And Raquel and Dell try to dismiss themselves very quickly. So just like the opening scene where they're in the shopping centre. But they are too late as Albert is able to begin his story.
A crewmate of mine, Sky Piggott, died of a sexually related condition.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. His girlfriend's husband shot him.
I do love that line.
I said it before. Albert has all the best lines in this episode. He really does. So the telephone rings and it's Rodney on the other end. And Dell is still clearly upset with him, but Rodney says he's been doing some thinking and he hasn't been drinking. At which point he proceeds to breathe down the receiver and Dell pretends that he can smell Rodney's breath on the other end. It's very random, but it's
such a
very
silly
funny.
brother joke, but I do really love it. Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, silly brother thing. But yeah, I just love the way they do that. It's very funny. So Rodney says that he's brought some champagne and roses for Cassandra and that he has not taken Tanya out. So Dell appears to be quite disturbed by this news.
Well, I thought of all the things you said, so I phoned her and I told her I was a married man. I told her I was still very much in love with my wife. Does that sound a bit yucky?
Yes. Yes, Rodney, that sounds absolutely horrible.
So Dell then tells Rodney that he is happy that he's changed his mind, but he shouldn't go back to the flat. But that is when we get the reveal that Rodney is already back at the flat and he is going to wait for Cassandra to come home. So Dell tries to tell him that he told Cassandra about Tanya, but honestly, not very hard because there were clearly multiple opportunities for him to say it over the phone.
No, listen, Rodney, I've got to say something to you.
Something I want to say to you, Del.
Yeah? What is it?
I love you, Del boy.
You dipstick!
So if I were Rodney, I would have wanted to hear what Dell had to say. But Rodney hangs up the phone and he takes the receiver off the hook so Del cannot call him back. So Raquel and Albert look confused as to why Del is panicking, because they seem to think it's a good thing that Rodney has gone back to the flat.
But you just said Rodney didn't take Tanya out.
Yes, he didn't. But you see, Cassandra, she thinks he did.
What makes her think that?
I don't know, do I? Somebody must have told her, I suppose, something like that.
Oh, Del, you didn't.
So Del explains that he was trying to help Cassandra, and that is why he told her. And I think that's probably true to an extent. Like I said, you know, we do think Del is ultimately coming from a good place here. But yeah, I said he must have known that Rodney would find out that he's told Cassandra. He must have known that.
Yeah, he
So
must
Del
have.
decides that he's going to go round to the flat one more time in the hope that he can catch Cassandra before she sees Rodney and tell her that he made a mistake.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But my wife has made a mistake.
So Del leaves the flat, and then we get a final exchange from Raquel and Albert.
Why does he have to interfere?
Just his nature. Still, proves his heart's in the right place.
Pity about his brain.
Any notes on that scene, dude?
I don't have many. I just wrote that Albert's line about the sexually related condition is hilarious.
Yeah.
But the I wish somebody had shot you, that's not in the script.
Oh, yeah, because that doesn't get any laughs, actually, that line. I always think that's a bit strange that it doesn't. But yeah, that does sound like something David Jason would make up in the spur of the moment.
He just threw it in, yeah. And I don't think it necessarily needed a laugh to be funny, because it kind of just is one of Del's little things that he sometimes says afterwards, after Albert says a line. And
Yeah.
it might have come out naturally.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, I mean, I shouldn't say this now, but I'll say it anyway, just because it's the same thing. When Boise runs out the flat in The Sky's the Limit, and Del says, I hope he falls down the stairs, that's not in the script either. So I think that there are a lot of times that David Jason might just be on set and vibing and like come up with these lines. I don't know that that's true. Maybe he was told to say it, but it's just a theory.
No, I mean, it does sound like, I mean, David Jason knows this character inside out by this point, so it totally makes sense that he'd just come up with some lines that Del would absolutely say.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of little mini insults and stuff. And I don't really have anything else to say that you haven't really said, except when they do the close-up of David Jason's face after Rodney says, I love you, because I don't think we've ever heard them say that to each other before.
No.
For a moment, obviously it turns into a you dipstick moment, which is comic relief, but for a moment, there's some like really deep emotion on David Jason's face when he hears that from Rodney, and the audience is quiet for a second, and then it's just like a you dipstick or you Wally, whatever he says. But I think it's really nice.
Yeah, I agree. That is a nice moment there. But again, it's not played sincerely in a lot of ways. It's played for laughs. I don't know. Like I said, I'm very confused after this episode what I'm supposed to be feeling.
Yeah, and that's okay, because that's your reaction to the episode, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. But I think there are some great moments to pull out if you look closely enough. But if you're not distracted by how up and down this episode is with its drama comedy mix, then yeah, there are some great moments.
Oh yeah, like I said, you know, one of my favourite moments in all of Only Fools and Horses is in this episode. So yeah. Okay, so now we go to the final scene of the episode, and we can see some roses and some champagne and some Cassandra music playing in the flat as Rodney comes home. When she comes in, she sees the stuff on the table and she looks confused, almost like she doesn't know how they got there, but how else would they get there if it wasn't Rodney? Just a bit strange. So Rodney comes out of their bedroom looking to make up.
Cass, come on.
So then we cut to Del outside the block of flats, running up to the entrance, and we can hear Cassandra and Rodney arguing from the outside of the building, meaning that all of their neighbours can also hear. And we also hear some glass breaking, so we assume, I guess, that Cassandra is throwing glass on the floor, or maybe even at Rodney, I'm not sure, which would escalate this relationship considerably if that was the case. But he does say that she hit him with a badminton racket, so... yeah, I mean, that's violence. It's not very good. So Del makes his way up to the front door of their flat, just as Rodney is being physically thrown out by Cassandra. At least I assume he
looks
is,
that
because
way, yeah.
the way that he sort of comes out looks like she's pushed him out the door.
He's back then.
Why did you tell her?
Well, I had to, Rodney, to save her from any pain.
What about me? She just
whacked me in the shin with a badminton racket.
Here, don't you raise your voice.
It's gone midnight.
We'll go back to bed then.
I don't know what he reminds me of some other character in something else. I can't put my finger on it.
I think he reminds me of the guy in the first episode of Fawlty Towers that goes, "We didn't get our alarm call."
Oh yeah, maybe that is what it is. Yeah, there's something about his mannerisms and his like over politeness making a complaint.
He's not the same guy, but yeah, he does remind me of that guy, I think.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's complaining with like this polite manner. I think that's right. That's what it is. So Del goes for the neighbour, of course, and Rodney stops him, and Rodney pushes Del down the stairs to the outside of the building again. Rodney's surprised that Del, of all people, grassed him up. And I agree, that is surprising, because we know from previous encounters and episodes that it's probably one of the worst things you can be in Del's eyes.
Yeah.
Which, you know, we've already talked about this, but yeah, that's why we're both sort of quite surprised, I guess, that he did tell Cassandra about Tanya. So Rodney says that he was never going to take Tanya out and it was all just an idle threat.
You said... I know what I said, but there's a world of difference between saying and doing, isn't there? If I'd gone to the police every time you said you were going to kill me, you'd still be slopping out in Parkhurst. Well, thanks to you, my wife now thinks I'm having a passionate affair with a siren of the exhaust centre, and you've offended my neighbours.
People are trying to sleep.
Shut up!
This scene, I think more so than any other scene in the entire episode, really confuses me at what we're supposed to laugh at, and even the audience seem confused, because this whole sequence here could have easily been laughed at when Rodney's saying, "I know what I said," and all this stuff. It doesn't get many laughs. It's quite serious. And again, and then at the end, it's like, shut up, like we're laughing again. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I need to go to bed.
I do think that is probably, it's funny. We're getting to the end of the episode now, and both of us at this point are probably thinking, yeah, this last scene, you're right, is very weird. Because maybe this was one of the scenes that was extended. Because it feels really long. I was trying to write my notes.
Yeah, you can tell the pacing is really weird. Yes, I agree.
It feels oddly dragged out and back and forth a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose maybe it'd be a good idea to talk to Fran about why this is her number 16, because there's probably maybe things like this. Some people really love this scene, or maybe they love some of the emotional moments and they get more out of it than maybe we did in this case. But I actually didn't want to watch this whole scene that much. I remember I was fairly like,
no.
Oh, is this the end? Is this the end? Like, it's oddly long and back and forth and up and down. Especially having Rodney go back as if he was going to go in and then realize he can't get in.
Yeah, exactly.
Was he really going to go back in? He just got thrown out. Like, and he left last time. So was he going to go back in? I would have to make a guess that this is the scene that mostly got dragged out because of the extension.
Yeah, and we all know that John Sullivan has trouble ending his episodes as well, a lot of the time.
It's not his biggest strength, summing up and ending. And the end is not comedic or cliffhangery, really. It's a sad ending. But again, they wanted to build this up to set up the next series, and it does that. You know, it fulfills its need. It sets up the next series because the next series starts with Rodney living back at the flat.
So Del tries to calm Rodney down and he admits he was wrong for telling Cassandra, and he apologises, which doesn't really help the situation.
Look, is there anything I can do to help?
Yes, piss off!
You just listen to me, you ungrateful little dipstick. I struggled over here in the middle of the night just to help you. And I was on a promise.
So Rodney says that he doesn't want Del's help and he doesn't want anything from him ever again. And we've definitely heard this conversation before in the past. I think multiple times, but there's one example I can think of now where Del says it to Rodney in The Long Legs of the Law. And I'm sure Rodney said it to Del, but off the top of my head, I can't think of an example. Can you?
Rodney saying it to Del, yeah. Examples there.
Anyone got any examples in the comments? Please feel free to put them there. So Rodney accuses Del of only sticking his oar in because he wanted to keep on with the cheap printing. And again, such a weird mixture here. Del looks genuinely hurt by that. Not like the fake hurt that he does in other episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no laughter with it. And then the episode ends with Rodney trying to get back inside the flat, as you mentioned, and realising he can't. And then he joins Del as they walk back to the car together.
We've nosed this right up, haven't we?
So what's new?
What am I going to do, Del?
Come on, Rodney. Come on. Let's go home.
And then we have the somber music over the credits, which Jenny mentioned is Somebody Who Loves You by Joan Armatrading. Yeah, I just wrote a very strange episode indeed. So yeah, any more notes, should I say, on that final exchange, dude?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's very important to note here is that, for me anyway, and I'm sure, I think for a lot of people, when we get to the strange end of between the 1996 trilogy and the revamped 3 episodes, one of the biggest criticisms that I've read of it is that it's forcing the characters back to the flat and their old lifestyle because that's what they needed for the comedic show to work. The concept of the show, they needed to be poor because John Sullivan said that writing about rich people isn't funny.
Right.
He wanted them back in the flat. He wanted them poor again. You could say that this is similar in the way that John Sullivan's head was working. It's not going to be funny having Rodney far away from Del and not part of the partnership, so we need him back at Nelson Mandela. And that is, he lives at Nelson Mandela for the entire of Series 7, and he loses his job. In 2 episodes' time, he becomes back part of Trotter's Independent Traders. So, yes, he was moving the Trotters on a couple of gears, as was said in that review, but he also was trying to bring back the original concept of the show by bringing Rodney back to Del as opposed to being with Cassandra, and bringing Rodney back to Trotter's Independent Traders. And it works very well. And with the end of that, to have him back, I mean, it works very well. And to have David Jason say at the end, "Let's go home," let's us go back to Nelson Mandela. It's a shame because it doesn't seem like the marriage is working out, but at the same time, true fans of the show probably would prefer the Trotters together working rather than having them separate.
Yeah.
So if you compare the two, you can't say this was rushed or lazy writing because it's not, because it's very drawn out and it's built up over the course of a very long episode and an entire series. Whereas I personally, one of the things I hated the most when I first saw If They Could See Us Now was this quick 5 minutes and we've just undone everything from Time on Our Hands and they're all just back.
Yes, agreed.
And I don't think John Sullivan liked it either, but I think it was just so jarring. This is definitely not like that. This feels like a natural progression and a natural way to bring Rodney back to the flat without it feeling forced. So that is a positive that I'm going to say. I don't really necessarily have super negatives here, but and just to go back to examples, I hate to bring this up, but in A Royal Flush is an example of when Rodney says he wants to wash.
I didn't do it, everyone.
He tells Del to stay out of his life at the end. There you go. There's an example. So I wrote here, all of the location scenes required for the end of this episode were all shot on the same day, or to be more specific, the same evening, because obviously this was a night shoot. So this was a night shoot on Wednesday, the 17th of October, 1990, and they needed a crane. The big long crane shot at the end was shot on a crane, so they could pull away and they could have Rodney and Del walking away for the entire end credits.
Yes, for the credits.
The argument out of sight, like just the words, reminds me of Fatal Extraction at the end when it fades away and it's like... you can just hear their voices arguing in the background.
Yeah, true.
I would say Rodney is very right to be very angry here. I mean, he's in the right. Del shouldn't have told him. Shouldn't have told Cassandra, but we've already talked about that.
Yeah.
And I wrote here, I wonder how people felt on Christmas Day watching this episode, especially when those credits ran and you realize that we're leaving it hanging on something sad. However, The Sky's the Limit was aired less than a week after this episode. So anybody who's following the show would know that in less than a week, we're going to pick this story back up.
Yeah.
How would people have felt if there wasn't another series and this was just the Christmas special and it ended and we're like, is this show ever going to come back? That would have been totally different. And I admire the bravery of John Sullivan to try this path.
Yes, I agree with that.
I know we don't love it, but at the same time, he tried something.
Agreed. It's very bold to shake up a show that's so established and try something completely new with it. I agree with you.
And in the same vein, a lot of the episodes in the past, people we've done this before. We've been like, oh, there aren't very many somber endings. And I think when we talked about some of the previous somber endings, we totally forgot this one.
Yes.
We were like, oh, there aren't that many we didn't even mention this, but this is probably one of the most somber endings because they're not even try to do a laugh at the end of this one, like that weird one at the end of A Royal Flush, and actually I think Who Wants to Be a Millionaire doesn't have a joke at the end.
No, it
But
doesn't.
this is actually a very, very sad ending.
Yeah, but I don't feel like it's earned. I don't feel like the stakes were high enough for it to be like this. That's why I think I don't consider it sort of one of the good ones. I feel like the ending of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is earned because Del did just give up his entire life for Rodney again.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big deal. I don't feel like Cassandra and Rodney having an argument over a badminton, as Cassandra describes it, and then her getting mad and Del, telling Cassandra something that wasn't true.
Yeah.
And her getting mad about it is earned to be this sad and this emotional.
And we don't care as much as an audience. We do not care as much about Rodney and Cassandra's relationship as we do about Del and Rodney's. So there's never going to be as much at stake. So that's it, really. The only other note I had was the credits were slowed down to reflect the sad ending. And also they wanted to fit the song in a way that ended at the end of the first chorus. So that was just another note that I had on it.
I'd love to know why they chose this song. Like, I have no idea what this song is.
John Sullivan loved this song, and in particular this artist, because he uses the same again in The Chance of Lunchtime. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But also, I was going to just make one final note, and that is that at this point, the viewers didn't know if this really genuinely was just a way of writing Cassandra out the show. It could easily have been, couldn't it? So they might have been thinking, oh, this is cool because we're going to get another series of the Trotters Independent Traders antics now, and the marriage is over. And that's a writing decision. Maybe. That's what people thought on Christmas Day. That's it.
Okay, so if that's all the notes, let's move on to our awards segment.
Okay, so as always, we have 3 awards to announce this week. We will start with our Plonker of the Week.
You stupid little plonker.
So, for Plonker of the Week, we will each nominate a plonker and we will discuss and decide who wins. So, dude, who's your nomination this week for Plonker of the Week?
I mean, it's Rodney or Cassandra. I actually can't really decide which. I guess probably Rodney, just because we see more of him being a plonker than we do Cassandra in the episode, but I'd say they're equally plonkers.
Yeah, I mean, when you really look at them both, they're both of their behavior, they do seem equal, but I would nominate Rodney only because I think that his issues with her are worse than her issues with him. It sounds like she's pretty much accepted most of his shortcomings.
Yeah.
But he hasn't really accepted hers, so let's make it Rodney.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so Rodney is Plonker of the Week.
I have never been so insulted in my life.
So this week, Heather has chosen her favourite line of the episode, and I will be choosing my favourite moment. So, dude, what have you chosen as the best line of the episode in your opinion?
Well, ironically, exactly what we just used for Rodney. I have never been so insulted in my life. Well, sit down, bruv. Let me have a try. I chose that. I also love the line, why, what did she do tonight? Tread on your scale-electrics. Again, it's just the delivery from David Jason. And I also love the, if you can consider that a line.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the ending of the part where they go, a girl.
A girl. Yeah.
So, but I guess I give it to I've never been so insulted in my life, because I think that's just a really, clever line, a good exchange.
You almost forgot about, though, there is a rather ugly rumour going around.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And then there's also another honourable mention for the, his girlfriend's husband shot him, or whatever. I can't remember the exact name. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. The punchline to that joke, yeah. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're all great lines, but yeah, I think I would still give it to I've never been so insulted in my life. Well, sit down, bruv. Let me have a try.
And honestly, for best moment, I actually chose the a girl moment, because it's fairly indisputable.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
this episode doesn't have huge standout moments anyway, but that is still a great sequence that would have won in many episodes where it had higher competition for best moment. So yes, for me, that moment with the hitting of the newspaper and the a girl is definitely.
Yeah, and I agree. Like I said, that sequence is like the highlight of this episode.
Yeah.
If I was just judging this episode on that sequence, it would have been far higher in my rankings.
Yeah, that whole scene is actually fairly active, full of good lines in the middle of the episode, with faster pace. So
Yeah, agreed.
again, I think we could just, it'd be so fascinating to see that original script without and see which scenes got pulled out and which didn't. But I would have to go ahead and guess. We know which scenes got dragged out.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, if there's nothing else, then drink up, we're leaving.
So that about wraps it up for this week. Join us in 2 weeks' time when we'll be officially starting Series 7 with Episode 1, The Sky's the Limit. Until then...
I don't know what you're thinking.
Au revoir, listeners. If you like what you hear and want to contact us, please email us at longlivehookeystreetpodcast@gmail.com. Wherever you are listening to us, please give us a like, subscribe, or follow. And it really helps us out if you give the podcast a rating or review. Use our Linktree to check out our Facebook and Instagram pages. And if you feel inclined, you can buy us a pina colada on buymeacoffee.com. Bonjour.